Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with AEBN co-founder Jay Strowd. Adult Site Broker is proud to announce the launch of our new website, Adult Site Broker 3.0, at adultsitebroker.com. The look and feel of the new site is nice and up to date and easier to navigate. The new site also has links to our affiliate program, ASB Cash, and our new blog. Speaking of ASB Cash, we've doubled our affiliate payouts. That's right. Now when you refer sellers or buyers to us at Adult Site Broker, you're going to receive 20% of our broker commission on any and all sales that result from that referral for life. You can either place a link to us on your site or refer buyers and sellers through an email introduction. ASB Cash is the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to present a one-of-a-kind, unique, and legendary site. It's a pro-amateur ethnic reality site founded in 2005. The site is styled after popular late-night variety shows such as The Tonight Show. Viewers never know what to expect, with a variety of different performers from brand new amateur talents to famous porn stars. There's no other website quite like it. The site continues to grow and expand with no major competitors in this niche. What makes it unique is their 100% original content that has uncensored and unscripted reality TV style scenes. They let the performers be themselves while having fun filming. Their video trailers are short webisodes that engage the viewers and are immensely popular online. Almost all the traffic is organic, with some affiliate traffic. It runs on a custom-built script, which has been maintained and updated. The site gets about 20 joins and 40 rebills a day. This iconic site is available for only $1.4 million. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Jay Strowd, CEO of AEBN. That's a lot of letters. Jay, thanks for being with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure and an honor, sir. Jay was born and raised in North Carolina, where he still lives. You will hear the accent. From an early age, he likes that. From an early age, he had a fascination with the utilization of the technology in innovative ways to communicate and produce art. Initially, it was 3D holography. And later, in the late 80s and 90s, he was an avid follower of the evolution of VR. I didn't know it went back that far.
Oh, yeah.
He studied at the Savannah College of Art and Design, where he was introduced to video editing and various 3D animation and graphic design applications, and finally, the internet, which helped drive the inception of AEBN. He took a job at a web design company in Charlotte, and one night at a local gentleman's club, I've been to a few of those myself, with some friends. Oh, come on, let's say it, titty bar. With some friends, they determined they should start creating adult entertainment websites as a side business. The next day, he did some research and connected with a local guy who was selling VHS tapes via a mail order site. Yes, that's the way it always starts, Jay. He started working with him in the warehouse, filling the daily orders, and AEBN was born a few years later. During his web design, using his web design background and experience working with video, he began researching and testing web video and streaming technologies. Of course, at the time, most adult sites were subscription-based image sites. Jay and his friends launched AEBN's pay-per-minute video streaming media in 1999, which started with only 5 people. Jay has worn many hats at AEBN. He's recently returned to attending industry events where we met in Prague. And as a co-founder, he finds himself stepping into the role of being the voice of AEBN after being behind the scenes for many years. Now, AEBN was formed in 1999 and has been an award-winning technology innovator and trusted distribution partner for the adult industry for over 20 years. AEBN was formed, as I said, in 1999. I'm repeating myself now. At the time, video streaming technology was still in its infancy, but the founders of AEBN immediately recognized the impact this technology could have on customers looking for an easy and discreet way to purchase adult content. In the weeks and months that followed, they developed and launched a unique adult video on demand service that revolutionized content delivery. That pay per minute model became the blueprint for the entire industry, one that is still used today. Its flagship VOD site, aebn.net, averages over 150 million unique visitors each month and reaches approximately 4% of the world's population every day. That's a mind blower. It's also home to the world's largest adult library, housing over 100,000 adult titles from over 1,500 studios. So, Jay, I'm tired after
Yes,
that.
sir.
I'm ready for a nap.
You made it through that pretty well.
Yeah, and I edited what you gave me a lot.
Thank you.
But that was all very important. So, Jay, when you started ABN, video streaming was something brand new. Today,
hmm
it's obviously the standard, not only in adult, but in mainstream. Did
hmm
you ever dream that what you were starting was truly revolutionary?
Not at the time, to be perfectly honest.
Hmm.
For us, it was the challenge, for the initial group of us. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think probably a few of the people had an eye on what we were doing, but
Mm-hmm.
from my perspective, it was really about digging into the technology. I've always been driven by trying to make things work
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah. Well, you're a tech.
out of the box solution for.
Right. Right.
When my partner asked me, he's like, how do we get these videos online? It's like, oh, well, let me do some checking and we will find out. And with a little bit of time and, well, quite a bit of time and
Mm.
determination, we finally made it happen.
Yeah. So you coded the whole thing yourself?
No, I brought in a longtime friend of mine from, we grew up together in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and he had been doing some Y2K programming, COBOL,
Mm-hmm.
and, I was much more oriented towards graphic design
Right.
and video technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at my buddy and was like, you have a great mind for database and back end programming.
Mm-hmm.
Come to the dark side. Um, it didn't take a whole lot of persuasion.
Sure.
So he and I would just work in our garage, work on the technologies and the site and putting together a prototype. And
Yeah.
our other partner who was our front man at the time, I won't mention his name in case he no longer wants to be associated, but
Mm-hmm.
most everyone is familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he'd bring the investors by our house and
Mm-hmm.
we'd give them demos sitting there in the garage. It's that classic tech story, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah. Interesting. So, what kind of challenges did you incur initially? I'd imagine with the internet still being quite slow, that it made what you were trying to do a little bit difficult.
It was extremely so.
Mm.
I mean, initially there wasn't much of any streaming going on. There was a whole lot of MPEG 1 downloads or
Hmm.
slow feeds. I'd say the biggest hurdle we faced at the time, just in general, was that there were not a lot of ready made apps or software that we could
Sure.
use, not only for the video, but for our data warehousing. I mean,
Hmm.
just anything we would do, we had to build it ourselves.
Right. You had to create it. Sure.
Yeah, I hear about a lot of the newer companies. They're like, "Oh, we're using this technology or this," and it's like, that didn't exist
Yeah.
when we were coming up. Our content management system,
Hmm.
everything had to be custom rolled. So it was quite a project along the way.
You had to be the innovators.
Indeed.
So, you started with two friends, and the company now has hundreds of employees. It kind of reminds me of companies, and you talked about this, like Apple or Microsoft, I can say Microsoft, starting in their garage. What made you think this would work way back in 1999?
Well, we knew that, people had an appetite for adult entertainment. I mean, we saw
Hmm.
it, and people were using the web for the mail order site and ordering
Hmm.
DVDs.
Right.
And, it just occurred to us that, that was around the time when do you remember the old Sprint commercials, 10 cents a
Hmm.
minute for
Oh,
long
yeah.
distance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that fed into the impetus that led to ABN. It's like, okay, well, if we could put the video up, what if we just let people buy minutes and
Sure.
use them wherever they want,
Hmm.
and we don't have to be necessarily behind a paywall.
Right.
So people can actually see the library that we have, the quality of things we have
Hmm.
before they have to give us any money. Things were kind of different back then. I mean, we're
Hmm.
talking about coming from growing up without the internet and when phones plugged into the wall. So,
Hmm. You
there
and me
was
both.
there was a lot of stigma around the, industry players and some of the
Mhm.
tactics that were being used that were less than favorable for a great user experience, let's say.
Right.
And, part of our agenda was to set out changing those perceptions and perspectives.
Hmm. You guys obviously started the whole streaming thing, and the cost per minute, which is also used in camming now as well.
Hmm.
I mean, they've adopted that as well, and look where that has gone.
Amen.
I mean, it's
Mm.
huge. It's absolutely huge. So, how is AEBN different, not only from membership sites, but from tubes and other VOD sites?
Well, we're kind of different, and we're a little bit like each one of those.
Hmm.
We do have a clip site or tube style site, PornoTube, which was probably one of the first tube sites that was put out there.
Hmm.
Um, Initially, as I recall, it was an adjunct to an adult themed community that we were building called X Peeps. And then it just kind of blew into a user upload type site.
Hmm.
Then we've taken it and converted it into an ad free holistic representation of our actual product, and we use it as an upsell
Right.
to upsell the movies, and it's works great in that capacity. So we've got a little bit of tube site. We've got some subscription products.
Hmm.
We have some. We'll put some older titles in for and give a reasonable monthly subscription price, and people will
Hmm.
get unlimited streaming on these older titles. We also
Sure.
give them a few paper minute to use on the premium VOD minutes.
Hmm.
So we're a lot more like a hybrid type of model, similar
Sure.
to Amazon Prime, say. You
Yeah.
know,
So, how has VOD changed in the 23 years since you got started?
oh well, bandwidth and delivery technologies, codecs.
Sure.
It's come a long way. I mean, I think when we were first starting out, God, I remember arguing to increase our bit rates to 225K because cable modems could then support them.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
It's wild.
so it's gone a long way from 180K bit rate to serving out UHD files now,
Yeah.
and it seems to be a standard that everyone expects
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
It's
I don't think anybody has any patience at all online anymore.
nope. No, yeah, buffering,
Yeah.
network issues. People they don't have to deal with the same issues, and the quality's just getting better and better as the codecs get better,
Hmm.
encoding technologies and delivery technologies get better. So
I remember back then, anytime you wanted to try to watch something, the screen would come up and it would say downloading,
Yeah.
and you'd get the percentages, and it would seem to take forever.
Oh yeah.
That had to be a frustration for both you and your clients.
Well, we did streaming only.
Mm-hmm.
We did not do progressive playback
Okay.
at the time, which is where it would try to play. When we got into the later versions of MPEG, it would try to progressive download while you were playing it back.
Right.
So we were before progressive playback really was a big thing.
Right, but it also used to
Yeah,
on technology like that, it would say loading with a
yeah.
percentage.
Or we'd get the buffering. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, that was amazing. Yeah, I think of
Yeah.
the internet net then with dial up, and I think of it today. I mean, even here in Thailand, I've got a gig down, and
Yeah.
it's wicked fast. And there's companies offering 2 gigs, so it's yeah. Well, the
Yep.
technology's arrived. So
Amen.
AEBN invests a lot in collecting data, and you share much of this with the industry and the public.
Hmm.
Why do you do this?
We feel it's our obligation to. We were going through a couple of years ago, one of my cohorts and I, and we were like, God, but look, we're sitting on all this data, and we were trying to sift through it to find some anomalies, do some research on our own, and we were like,
Hmm.
I had been on a crusade to provide better data to our content partners to
Hmm.
assist them in make those that wanted to
Sure.
in using the data to make educated decisions about things that were more successful on our platform. And that sort of reporting, a lot of our content partners love it and they use it all the time. They can say, oh, this scene is why this movie made all these minutes. This
Hmm.
scene did all the minutes in this movie. Here's the actors, actresses, metadata, sex
Hmm.
acts, everything that's in this scene. I should make more of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're just trying to help give our partners a recipe for success.
Hmm.
When I saw all this past data that we had collected, and that's we decided that we should make it available
Hmm.
to the industry as a whole because there were there's several people that are publishing similar types of data, but most of
Hmm.
it is based upon free users,
Yeah.
and our numbers are based on porn consumers who pay for the product, which we
Yes.
thought was in a useful data set to
Hmm.
compare against all the other data that was being published out there.
Right.
And, I mean, we just found some really interesting anomalies that we want to dig into, write some interesting articles, get people's feedback,
Hmm.
make the data and ourselves available for any, scholastic or, reporters covering the industry that want to
Sure.
write on the industry.
Right.
We do have plans to expand access to that data so that people can potentially plug in different points and
Hmm.
overlay and look at different trends
Right.
where they might cross, see one on the downside, one on the upside.
Hmm.
So it's a project that we found useful, not only for ourselves, but figured the industry might find some use in it as well. So
Sure.
we put it out there. I've had people say we should charge for it, but it just doesn't seem right to me. I mean, in my mind, we succeed together or
Right.
not, I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you give things like that away, you get a lot more back. That's always been my business
mhm.
philosophy. So, along with that, you recently launched aebntrends.com. And I was
Yep.
looking at some of the articles. I see top selling trans stars of the third quarter, top selling porn stars, and third quarter trends. Now, how important is this project to what you do at AEBN?
Well, that's the project I was referring to when we were
Hmm.
amassing, going through all that data, and decided to make it publicly available.
Right.
Um, we go through that data constantly anyway for our own benefit, so
Of
that
course.
we're refreshing our site and being more accurate with, who are the top stars, and
Hmm.
product placing the top selling scenes, movies, etc.
Hmm.
But we figured, once again, it would just be something that would be nice to put out to our industry peers,
Right.
as an alternative to all the data on free porn
Sure.
users,
A lot more
consumers.
valuable. Sure.
Yeah, and we're hoping that it will become a much more interactive amongst our team and
Hmm.
fun project to work
Sure.
on. I mean, we've seen some really strange anomalies, and we've had some discussions and done some initial looks at, like, trends in some of the fetish
Yeah.
categories during election years, or blue collar porn versus white collar porn,
Interesting.
and because we've had some people, we've seen where, certain categories will be popular, and we've had people go, oh, it's always been big tit for
Hmm.
straight is always the top, and we're like, no, that doesn't sound right. And I mean,
Not
we can go back
necessarily.
25 years,
Yeah.
looking week to week over the past 5 years, maybe it did look like that was the top category, but that
Hmm.
has not always been the case,
Yeah.
which
It,
is why we publish our, monthly, or quarterly, category
mhm.
lists, and show the movement of the different categories on both the gay and straight side,
Mhm.
uh, over time, so you can kind of begin to see what's rising or what's dropping off now.
That wasn't a
Yeah,
pun, was it?
could be.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. What's rising when we're talking about porn? Yeah,
That's right.
it's always rising.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, big data has taken over the world. There's just no two ways about it. So
Yeah.
having it an adult just makes absolutely perfect sense. Have you seen anything, or does anything come to mind? You talked about anomalies. Does anything come to mind that you found particularly strange in the data that you've looked at?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go back
I mean,
into
anything.
my notes.
I mean,
There were,
anything that stands out to you.
right off the top of my head. One of the things I think that immediately springs to mind is the exponential growth of female viewers
Hmm.
and where they are watching. When we started, and this kind of, pardon me if I go off on a tangent,
Please.
when we started this, when you come to our site, it's broken up gay and straight,
Yep.
and that was under. I've gotten a lot of questions about that over the years. Why
Sure.
aren't lesbians in the gay side, and this that, and the
Hmm.
other? And back then, our presumption, and I think was pretty accurate, was that the main consumer of porn on the internet were males.
Yep.
You know, at that point in time, and now we're seeing a huge explosion in female viewership, and a
Hmm.
lot of them are watching on the gay side of our theater.
Sure. They like good-looking guys.
Yeah, good looking guys, less misogyny,
Sure.
better, but it's been growing and growing at a rapid rate. And the trick is, how best to accommodate that
Mhm.
demographic.
Mhm. Well, there is a reasonable amount of porn for women now, and it seems to be
Mhm.
growing. Auntie Roundtree comes to mind with
Yep.
her Shush site, and there are some others that have just been phenomenal at creating porn for women. So,
Hmm.
have you thought about having a porn for women section, maybe a separate trans section, maybe changing it up so it isn't just gay and straight?
We have had many conversations
I
about
bet.
that,
Yeah.
and it's tricky,
Mhm.
certain communities, my understanding, the gay guys don't want to look through a bunch of lesbians to find the content they're looking at,
Right.
you
Right.
know? So it's, do you categorize for the consumer or the product itself? And there's a happy
Hmm.
medium in there
Sure.
in between. So we are always considering new options. There's always conversations about, whether everything should be lumped into one. So it's, more just here's your adult.
Hmm.
I don't think that our older demographic is quite ready for that. The younger
No.
generation is much more accepting of, different forms of sexuality than perhaps
Sure.
the older demographic, but the older demographic is, they've got more disposable income,
Sure.
generally speaking.
Hmm.
Um, so, it's a tricky road to walk.
Oh, I'm sure it is. And let's face it, and I bring this up a lot because I believe it a lot in our PC culture. Anything you do, you're going to piss somebody off.
Oh yeah. I hear if you're not pissing somebody off, you're not doing it
You're
just
not
right.
being
But
successful. Exactly. Absolutely. So you do a lot of partnerships in the form of licensing deals. How important is this to your business?
in what aspect are you speaking? Um, I
Well,
mean, we don't license a lot of content.
okay. Well, I
It's
mean, the licensing is the partnerships, right?
Yeah, yeah. We don't license for exclusivity, I guess I should say.
Right. No, I know.
It's a rev share. So,
Hmm.
partnerships are everything, in my
Hmm.
opinion. They're what back again to we succeed together
Yep.
or fail together. I try to extend any help or goodwill I can to anyone in our industry that's a good player. Whether we're partners now or not, the more successful they are, the more successful I am. And that certainly holds true for our content and traffic partners as
Sure.
well.
Sure.
So we work very closely with both of them from both how we schedule content to go up so that it doesn't compete with each other.
Hmm.
Us really focusing on content discoverability within our site, which I think is a good thing for both our users and our content partners. If we can extend the life cycle, the long tail
Hmm.
of revenue generation on a piece of content, our partners win. They're making every penny they possibly can.
Yep.
And our users win because they're discovering content they might not have found themselves.
Hmm. What kind of vetting process does a potential partner have to go through?
Well, we look at content, obviously, preliminary talks with them, hammer out the percentages and splits and get
Hmm.
all the corporate information. And then it's turned over to legal and the contracts are drawn up and everybody signs. It's nothing out of the ordinary or very complicated. Um, it's not like we're vetting people that are direct uploading to our site or anything.
Hmm. Okay.
We just need to verify that they hold all the proper licenses and
Mhm.
paperwork, and they are who they say they are, and the checks are going to go to the right spot.
Are there any potential partners you won't accept?
Um,
I mean, does
well,
anybody get turned down?
n- not that I am aware of, unless they are just a bad actor
Mhm.
or there is something really off with the content.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't want to carry any content that is would get us or anyone else in any type of legal issues.
Sure.
So,
Mm, makes
that's
sense.
always there.
Yes.
It's for everyone's best interest.
Yep. You come from a tech background and design background. How does that give you an edge as a company owner and CEO?
Well, I'm CSO. I don't want to
Ah,
steal anyone else's thunder there. But
What does CSO stand for? It's a new one on me.
chief strategy officer, I suppose.
Ah, okay.
I've kind of
Okay.
been the man behind the curtain, trying to drive along the way, remaining incognito. But I guess all that's come to an end now, officially.
Okay.
um, I think it just gives me a good language to be able to communicate with my UX and UI designers,
Hmm.
ideas from a user perspective to make the site more engaging, etc. And of course, I'm always looking at new technologies to implement, and I
Hmm.
usually bring them up way
Sure.
too early. Um, it excites me, but it's not ready for public yet. So,
I get it. Well, for someone who's been on the VR train for as long as you have, that doesn't surprise me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Hacking Nintendo Power Gloves and
What's your take on where VR is at now?
it's nice to see it. I mean, I follow like you mentioned in the intro. I followed VR way back
Hmm.
when it was well out of consumer hands, but it
Hmm.
fascinated me the ability to be able to create completely immersive environments, and
Hmm.
I'm pretty impressed by what I've seen nowadays. And now
Hmm.
that the hardware is becoming more affordable and more accessible to the common consumer,
Right.
that's the tipping point that we've VR's needed for a long time.
Yes. Yeah, because without the hardware, the software doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that immersive experience is unlike anything else. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is impressive.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to when they bring it to sports.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you
I mean,
told me you're a racing fan and performer, or rather participant. Boy, I bet that would be fun.
oh yeah, yep. That was one of the first things when I got my Oculus was showed my mom one of the ride along in a Formula One car, or a
Oh, jeez.
IMSA car, and she put that thing on. Was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. You need to get me one of these things for when you put me in the old folks' home. Obviously, I didn't show her any porn, but
Here's hoping.
she's well aware of you know
What you do.
what I do. So
Yeah. I would hope so by now. It would be kind of hard to hide it at this point.
yeah.
What's your take on the latest assault on our industry from the anti porn crusaders and their religious groups that are connected to them?
Um, Initially, I would have to say it just kind of saddens me.
Hmm.
I mean, this has been going on forever, but it seems frustrating that there's parties on two sides, and there's smart people on both sides that could figure out a solution, but when
Mhm.
one side's only acceptable outcome is the complete eradication of the other party,
Yeah.
how do you find common ground to sit down and have a discussion about how do we coexist?
Yeah.
What can we do? I mean, there are not everyone in this industry is a bad apple just looking to take advantage and convert children and all the other
Yeah.
horrible things that they say about us. I think there's a lot of misinformation, and the press takes what they can because it's sensationalized and that sells more. And but we've really got to find some way to begin to steer a new narrative,
Hmm.
and try and not meet those people halfway, but you know dispel some of the misperceptions at a minimum.
Well, one of the parties are the ones that are delivering the vast majority of the assault, and the other party is sitting on their hands.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if if we could find a way to come together as a community, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I've been churning over in my head is is there something that we can do that shows that we're making a conscious effort? No, we're not sex traffickers and
Yep.
pedophiles
Yeah.
and the lowest of low human beings. We're just people making a
Right.
living.
Some of the
And
coolest
you
people in the
know
world. We both know that.
yeah, yeah, some of the best people I have ever met in
Oh,
my
by
life, and
far.
I'm not
By
much of a
far.
people person, have been in this industry.
Yeah.
Friends that I'll have for the rest of my life,
Indeed.
however long or short that may be.
Hey, I've made a lot more friends in my 20 plus years in this business than I ever did in my 21 years in radio.
Amen. Yep. Yeah. There are some great, wonderful people here, and
Yep.
it pains me that we're all painted in a bad light because of a few bad choices
Hmm.
or lack of foresight. I mean, obviously, there's bad actors in every industry,
Indeed.
they're everywhere. But as a whole, generally, you know, this industry doesn't support that.
Right.
And they're painting us with a big brush that
Of course.
is false and inaccurate. And
Well, we're low hanging fruit.
yeah, I wish I had an answer for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just hope we come out well on the other end. So there's been a lot of change in the industry in all the years you've been in the business. Now, about a decade ago, or maybe a little longer, the tube sites really changed the landscape. Not necessarily talking about legal tubes like yours, but just tubes in general, which many of which
Hmm.
are not legal. Now, at that time, many people freaked out. They all were like, the sky is falling. Yet the adult industry marches on. What's your feeling on that subject?
Well, I mean, there's good and bad aspects all the way around. I mean,
Sure.
I'm somewhat. I have some concerns on the one hand, about training a younger generation to expect that everything's free. I don't think
Hmm.
that's only the case with porn.
No,
But as
it's not.
we know, I mean, the younger generation doesn't have as much disposable income. I mean,
Yeah.
remember Napster, when
I
everybody
do.
was
Yes.
downloading music until Apple came along and went, you know what? Here, we're going to break it up and sell songs. You get
Yes.
something for a known bar of quality that you don't have to scour around and bunch of questionable sites to get.
Sure.
It's at a reasonable price. At a
Buck a
certain time
song.
in your life,
Yep.
you realize that your time is worth money, and
Sure.
if you know there's a quality product at a reasonable price, people will pay for it.
Sure.
The trick, I think, is creating a seamless and smooth path to transition a free user into a paid user,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Absolutely.
which we're starting to get a handle on how to do fairly effectively.
Hmm.
I
So, most recently, fan and clip sites have taken a large percentage of the adult industry
mhm.
market. While they've obviously created a market of their own, there's more eyes now. How has this impacted your business, and where do you see this going?
Well, we've got a few relationships with a couple of cam companies and a couple of white labels, and they've been good for us.
Mm.
We are really looking to help foster that. It's an adapt or die.
Yes.
We would like to start supporting the performer creators.
Hmm.
They have followings. They're creating content.
Sure.
We don't want to compete with their main platforms, but I mean, if I think in a talk in Miami, I told some of the content creators, just like diversify.
Hmm.
Don't think that OnlyFans or one of these other sites
Yeah.
is, if you put your content there,
You're done.
everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what you need to generate the maximum revenue from
Mhm.
your major asset, which is your content.
Correct.
So figure out which your best performing platform is, release on that just before the peak starts to tail off, window it out, release on another platform, ride that
It's a good
high,
strategy.
and make that continue to do that,
Hmm.
so you can squeeze everything you can out of each individual piece of content and
Hmm.
not be under the gun to continually create content.
Makes
Um,
sense.
so we would like to be one of those distribution platforms for those
Hmm.
girls and guys, pardon me,
Right.
and help them generate additional revenue. For the more pro performers that have done
Hmm.
studio work, we're creating the ability for them to be able to sell their home curated or created content right beside all their studio content. Where else can somebody go and see all of that content right there,
That's true.
together in one place
Hmm.
and
Very
sell it?
true.
And we would incorporate the girls and guys performers, pardon me, as potential affiliates. So if you were to drive traffic to your page, you get a piece of everything within our system that that user bought, whether they
That's
went
awesome.
and looked at another girl's content or watched performers' studio content.
Hmm.
I mean, these performers, they got paid once for making this video. Now they can get paid again and again and again every time somebody watches the title,
Hmm.
uh, if they bring us the traffic.
Sure. So
So,
what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, I was just going to say, I think it's just a matter of adapting. I mean, we're in the business of selling video. They're creating video. We want to sell it for them.
Absolutely. So where do you see this industry going in the future? And you've always been ahead of the curve. So I kind of wanted you to look into your crystal ball and give me your
Oh,
give me your take.
gosh, that is really hard. That I thought that's the curveball. I wish I could see that far out. I'm so focused on, trying to adapt to the content creator, model creator content
Hmm.
right now. That's really one of the places I'm putting a lot of emphasis on, because they are the new affiliates, the new content, the new studios.
Hmm.
And we need to foster relationships.
Absolutely.
Um, you know, just for me right now, it's building out better user experience, features that will be more engaging to our users
Hmm.
and facilitate better information and ways to onboard different types of content onto our platform, be it uh, content creators selling photo sets or
Hmm.
their home shot video clips
Right.
or audio or anything.
Hmm. Well, it
It's
sounds like quite a task.
yeah, and it's really hard to venture to guess what it will be in the future. With AI and machine learning
Yeah.
and blockchain technologies.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, when a user has control over their own personal data and can be in charge of who gets that data and
Hmm.
maintain a single login on a thumb drive that
Yeah.
works across all their sites. I mean, I
Right.
think there's a lot of technology coming up with the Web 3.0
Sure.
initiative that I think will have huge ramifications, between that and cryptocurrency and the banking issues that we're facing now.
Yes.
I say now like it's a new thing, but
Yeah, exactly. Well,
it's just
but it has
part of
been
the
worse
cycle,
lately. It
right?
has been worse lately, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it seems to go in cycles, right? I mean, every what
Sure.
maybe 6 years, that's it's the age verification from the UK. No, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not opposed to any of these things as long
No.
as they're thought out and implemented correctly.
Well, that's
Uh,
where that's where you're probably wrong because governments never politicians don't think things out.
no, they don't. So, the onus eventually will fall on us to come
Of
up with the
course.
proper solution.
Right.
I think, every time it reaches, chaos reaches critical mass, it's an opportunity to innovate.
Yeah, and I totally believe that the adult industry is blowing it because as a whole the adult industry should get together and adopt a universal age verification system before the governments do.
Yep. Well, and part of the problem is, every government, be it a state government or
Countries.
nation,
Yeah,
it's if we are reactive and wait until they start passing them, it's going to be impossible to contend with.
correct.
You know, um,
Well, the
Once
UK
again,
can't make up their mind.
I
It's
know.
on, it's
Mm.
not, it's on, it's not, it's on, it's not. And these poor people with these age verification companies, they've had so many false starts, it's not even funny.
Oh, I know. I can't tell you for me to go back to my development team and go, oh, I've got another one. They chase me out, tar and feather me. Um, I mean, because I would like to stay ahead of it,
Of course.
and we've always strived to do the right thing, to stay in the good graces. Like I said, part of our process. We have
Sure.
at least 5 stages of QC, human eyeballs looking at content before it ever
Hmm.
goes on our site.
Good.
A lot of that is to make sure that there's no audio video glitching, but
Hmm.
we're also looking for things that might be in there that
Yeah,
might not be defensible.
exactly.
We don't deal with user uploads primarily.
Right.
Mostly, we're dealing with studios and brokers at the moment. So, it's not like they're suspect or we don't trust them, so it is more of a quality check, but it's
Hmm.
also a cover your ass
Big
step.
time. That's my answer to the vetting question, by the way.
Right.
Just took a little while. So, besides catering more to the performers, anything else exciting coming up at ABN that we should know about?
Oh, evolving out the trends. And we
Hmm.
are always happy to, if people have questions or anything they might be interested in, we are always happy to do a deeper dive and
Hmm.
help people out. You know, uh, Really for us, one of the main focuses is going to be on really using, artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance the user experience
Hmm.
right now, to know what content users like and be able to put that in front of them, or know
Sure.
what they don't like and suppress that somewhat, give them the most applicable recommendations.
Right. No lesbians for the gay men.
Right, or customized promotions. This
Yeah.
guy likes buying downloads, and he loves this company. Let's reward
Hmm.
him and give him, promo code for a 20% discount on his next download from this studio.
Yeah.
Or,
That's
you
cool.
know, really, personalization right now is one of my big priorities at the
Hmm.
moment.
Absolutely.
It's no small task, but
No. It sounds like when you get it going, it's going to be really fantastic for everybody.
yeah, well, I think so. I think it'll help everyone involved. I
Hmm.
mean, it helps the consumer find the product that they're looking for, the
Hmm.
easiest to discover content
Right.
that they might be looking for, which helps our content partners.
Mm.
And it's the way things are going now. We're just gonna try not to be Netflix and move major UI elements around so
Hmm.
no one knows where to find their list. But
That's always helpful. It's like many websites, and I complain about it all the time. And when I'm doing my broker tips, one of the things I say is do not just tell your designer or your developer, put together a website for me and not give them any direction. Because,
Mm-mm.
oh my God, what comes out the other end? And this is with big sites. You mentioned
Hmm.
Netflix. They need direction.
Yep. Well, and that's one of the things back to one of your original questions. I think that
Hmm.
really helps in my conversations with my teams.
Right.
That's one of the few meetings I have every week that I look forward to more than others
Hmm.
is the interaction with my creative department and my UI UX
Sure.
people. After a million years of art school, I kind of know how to speak the language of the creatives, and
Hmm.
it's really a nice, refreshing brainstorming session and exchange of ideas.
Hmm.
You know,
Absolutely. One last question. How do you
sure.
still have the passion for this after over 2 decades?
Um, because there's so much to do. There's so
Hmm.
many challenges. I
Yeah.
mean, so many of the things that we talked about now. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, there's so many things I want to do with our site.
Yeah.
The AI personalization, facilitating, like I said, better data and information for our partners to consume.
Hmm.
Um, ways that they can create comps based on scenes that are already existing in our library without having to go back and re-edit and make another box cover and
Hmm.
send us another comp that we have to encode and double store content we already have, things
Yeah.
like that, and not to mention this issue with the stigma around adult. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to see our community, our industry come together and have real intelligent conversations about how we might deal with this. Yeah, I wish I had the answer, but I think
Well,
with the right amount of
Jay, as a thought
discussion,
leader in the industry, maybe you need to make the suggestion at a major trade show to have that conversation.
I have.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
have figured.
I've been talking to free speech about trying to facilitate
Hmm.
something like
Yeah.
that. I think they're probably in the best situation to facilitate those discussions
I think
and
so.
to steer the narratives in the public eye. You
Sure.
know, um, but we all have to come together, have amicable and intelligent conversations with each other
Yes.
without accusations or pointing fingers and figure out a way forward for the bulk of us.
Hmm.
Nobody has to get on board, but
Right.
those that do should be able to say, look, I'm participating. I want to follow best practices. We
Absolutely.
don't support the same, many of the same things that you don't support.
Hmm.
We're not sex traffickers. We're not
Yeah.
pedophiles. We're not trying to taint your children. We're just people trying to make a living. It's not going to
Exactly.
go away. You're not going to, exterminate adult entertainment from the face of the earth.
Nope.
So, how do we move forward?
Anyway, the kids are already tainted, so it's too late.
Yeah, they
Just
are.
look at social media.
Oh, God, that's the most evil thing on earth.
Agreed. Well, Jay, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again soon.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you again soon.
I hope so. My broker tip today is part 7 of how to buy an adult website. Last week we talked about the agreement and escrow. So now you own the website. What do you do now? The first thing you should do is make sure you understand everything about the operation of the site. The previous owner will hopefully be available for a period of time to help you with this. As I mentioned last week, you should establish what the former owner's participation will be after the sale. You'll need to deal with production of new content, processing, paying affiliates, and many other things. If you don't have experience in these areas, you may want to consider our general consulting firm, Adult Business Consulting. You can get more information on what this company does at adultbusinessconsulting.com. We help website owners project manage and guide them to the right vendors. Maybe the previous owner had all the right elements: processing, hosting, payments, production, scripts, etc., or maybe they didn't. We can help evaluate that for you. Let us know if we can help. Anyway, you'll now be operating the website. If you don't have someone like our general consulting company to help, evaluate all of those items and everything the site is spending money on and using to operate the site. Make sure you're getting a good deal and that these companies are providing the right service, and check to see if you can do better. Hosting is a great example on something where people are often both overpaying and not getting the right service. Many times the server is just too slow. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to us on our site. Next week, we'll talk about how to sell a website. And next week, we'll be speaking with Jay Moyes of High Octane Heart Media and PR. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Jay Strowd. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.